Hi everybody, this is Bentley Christie from redwormcomposting.com. I'm here to tell you about setting up your own Deluxe Rubbermaid worm bin. Let's start by talking about some of the supplies that you're going to need to set up this bin. For starters, of course, you're going to need a couple Rubbermaid tubs. I prefer the Rubbermaid Roughneck variety of tub. You don't even need to use Rubbermaid, of course. Anything that's plastic stackable type of bin will work totally fine. The only recommendation I do make is that it be opaque. You don't want to be able to have all kinds of light shining in on your worms. They do not like light at all, and it can in fact be harmful. You're going to want a drill of some sort. I prefer to use 1/8 of an inch drill bit. Anything bigger than that and you run the risk of having a lot more worms migrating down to your reservoir, and anything smaller and you're going to potentially have plugged up holes, and which of course is going to impede your drainage process. Cardboard makes an excellent bedding material for a worm bin. This is what I prefer to use. You can also use peat moss or shredded newspaper. I just find that the worms really like cardboard and it helps to balance the system nicely. Of course, you're going to need some food scraps. The whole point of setting up a worm bin oftentimes is to handle some of your kitchen waste. So adding some food scraps right off the bat is certainly going to be a good idea. In terms of the best food materials to add, fruit and vegetable wastes are excellent. And so are coffee grounds and tea bags. These are all materials that are great for your worm bin. Some things to keep in mind as far as moderation goes: citrus peels and citrus fruits themselves, onions, and really spicy foods like hot peppers, and anything that's starchy like a bread or a rice or pasta materials should all be used in moderation. All of these can create problems in your bin if you add too many of them at once. And there are definitely some things you want to avoid adding to your bin completely. Any sort of meat or dairy product like cheese or yogurt, and anything that's excessively oily, like greasy French fries and things like these. Maybe a little bit of salad with a tiny bit of salad dressing on it is not anything to worry about, but something that's dripping in oil is not going to be good for the bin. All of these materials are tough to break down and they can putrefy in your bin, creating real headaches. Some sort of spray bottle is going to help you to spray down your system and get everything moist. I made some supports for my upper bin by cutting the bottoms out of a couple small milk cartons. Any sort of blocks that you put in the bottom will work perfectly fine. And the reason that I'm doing this is if you just place the upper bin inside the lower bin, it's going to end up getting wedged down and it's going to impede airflow, which is the whole point of setting up this type of bin, is to allow for a lot of airflow and to allow for a nice drainage of moisture from the upper bin to the lower bin. Step 1 involves drilling your air holes. In your lid, you can drill anywhere from 10 to 20 air holes. This is really up to you. 10 to 20 works well, I find. Going to drill some air holes in the side as well. Again, 10 to 20 total. So in my case, I did 7 on either side and 2 on either end. It's really up to you, but this is a decent recommended number. Finally, you're going to want to drill some holes in the bottom of your upper bin. This is going to allow for drainage. You don't want quite as many holes as you do for aeration, simply because you don't want to have too many worms migrating down to your lower reservoir bin. You're going to end up having to rescue them from the water that's down below. Next, we're going to stack our bins. So simply place the bin that we've drilled all the holes in inside the reservoir bin. And voila, our bin is ready to be filled. What we're going to start with is some bedding material. And of course you can't add it when it's all big and bulky like that. So it really helps to shred it down. Aside from allowing you to get more in your bin, this also will help to speed up the decomposition process because there's more surface area for microbes to react on. Start by adding a nice thick layer of this bedding material in your bin. And then, of course, we're ready to add some food wastes. So add a good thick layer of food waste, some more bedding, and then some more food waste. It's good to get a nice layer system. You don't want to add too much food waste in any one layer. And this helps to balance things out. I recommend adding a little bit of garden soil. You definitely don't want to add very much at all. Garden soil is a good thing to add to a worm bin just because it can kickstart the microbial community, and it also adds a little bit of grit. Your worms have what's known as a gizzard, where they grind their food down a little bit, and having these soil particles, these little stones and sand in their bin, it's going to help them with the grinding process. Definitely don't add too much soil though. These are not soil dwelling worms. I've decided to be a bit of a rebel this time around. I've added some of those risky foods, some of the citrus, the onion, and the bread. Really what I'm trying to prove here is that adding these materials in moderation is not anything to worry about. So do keep that in mind. Next, we're going to want to moisten our system a little bit. You don't have to worry about it too much since the food waste themselves will help to moisten the system. But it doesn't hurt to add enough water to soak down that upper layer. And finally, we're going to add one last layer of bedding over the top. And of course, give it a bit of a soaking. And we are ready to close up the system. Now, we can simply let our bin sit for a good 1 to 2 weeks. A lot of people recommend just adding the worms right away. I personally find that letting your bin sit for a period of time helps a lot. It allows for the microbe community to develop quite nicely, and it also allows moisture levels to get balanced throughout the bin. So by the time 1 to 2 weeks are up, the system is going to be ideal and ready for your worms. So of course, last but not least, we're going to be adding our composting worms. And these are typically red wigglers. Icenia fetida is the Latin name. So those are the ones to watch out for. There are other varieties, but these are the most versatile and the most widely used. So that's pretty much it. Very, very easy. And I hope you've enjoyed this video.